Today I'm with two very special guests, and I know I always say that, but these are very special. Two of my best partners, especially Emily, that I do a lot of work with. I have Emili Bonilla
Hi.
and Maikol Puebla from, and let me get it right, MK.
MP.
MP. Yeah, because where's
Yep.
MK? Where is it? MP
Home
Home
collection.
Home
Collection.
Collections. Yeah. How you guys doing today?
Great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
doing
It's
good.
been good weather. So
Yeah. How's the market treating you so far?
It's good. I feel like it's been around the same for the last 5 years. Everyone's waiting for a crash that never comes.
Yeah, no, it's
basically
just
it.
amazing that all the conversations we have. It's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna wait for the market or I'm gonna wait for the rates to drop, but nothing really happens. Now you guys do mostly Hudson and Bergen County, right?
I mean, I like to say I do northern New Jersey
Yeah, I mean
because I've done Hudson, Bergen, Essex. I've done Sussex, but
yeah, we've done a couple in Sussex.
yes, we've done some in Somerset County.
Somerset, yeah,
So I do a little bit of everywhere, mainly northern New Jersey.
yeah. Now, how long have you had the team, Michael?
We're going on year 9 pretty soon.
Wow, year 9,
Yeah, time flies.
and always at Christie's.
Always at Christie's. I mean, I started as a solo agent at a small brokerage in West New York. I was there for about a year, and then I moved to Christie's, and I've been with Christie's ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was, if you don't mind, which agency, or should we not say?
No, with what?
Which agency?
Where I started?
Yeah.
Oh, eRealty. Yeah. No, absolutely. It's a small brokerage on Bergenland Avenue. The broker there is Everett, and the owner, great guy, taught me a lot about the business. I'm happy that I started there because he's a great guy to learn from.
And
Yeah.
this was 2017,
2016.
2016. Wow.
Yeah.
As time flies.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Emily? How long have you been doing this?
About to be 4 years.
4
now.
years.
Yeah.
So you started right after the pandemic.
Yes, right during the pandemic I started.
Yeah, during the pandemic.
Yeah. But I started with Keller Williams, and then I went to Christie's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you, what is the advantage of working with Christie's?
I think you do a good job with this.
Well, I mean, there's a lot, right? Being associated with a brand with the reputation that Christie's has opens doors without you having to do the work. Gets you into places that maybe you wouldn't be without the brand. Biggest thing for me is the guidance and the resources. Being a partner with Christie's, one of the biggest assets that they have, and I know Emily could attest to this, is Juan Rivera, their broker.
Yes.
Yeah, I met him.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Great guy, mentor, knows a lot about the business. Big part of what the Christie's family does, and he's been huge for us, for the team, and for our personal growth as well. So it's just when you couple that with the name brand, there's really no question. I mean, we're in an environment now where people kind of jump from one place to the other, and they're always looking for the grass is greener. What was that?
It never helps. I feel like it's just such a bad thing to be jumping from one place to another.
Well, it's the grass is greener on the other side mentality, and that it just doesn't work for me, man. If you're at a place where you're getting the proper guidance and you're doing well, why am I going to go and see, hey, let me see if I can make an extra $10 here? And also, there's got to be loyalty. That's huge. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's, look, I've been fortunate enough that I have some people. I mean, this business, I feel like there's quite a lot of that, but a lot of recruiting. And they always ask me, hey, are you looking to move? And I'm like, look, there's nothing out there that's going to really, make me do better numbers, At the end of the day, it's all about what's inside, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, just the brand and the people that you work with. Like, there's not an amount of money right now that I've been offered a lot of things, but I wouldn't leave Maikol, I wouldn't leave Juan, I wouldn't leave Christie's. Just
and at least
a great company.
I do have to say, and like you work with a lot of clients that I have, and you guys in general are amazing how you guys do, so professional and so committed to making sure that people get the right house, giving right advice and everything. So Would you say that that's one of the characteristics of MP Home Collections? Like, because it's a pretty big team. I mean, how many people in total?
It's like 9 now.
we
It's
have,
actually less. We were like 14 before, but
Yeah.
again, people decide that they want to go on a different route. But just to go back to your point, yeah, that's absolutely part of our not only our identity, but the Christie's identity. And it's that saying that luxury isn't a price point, it's a level of service. That's the way that we go about it. That's all about the Christie's brand. So Emily dabbles in the luxury world a lot, and when it comes to dealing with a client that's selling a $2 million property or a client selling a $400,000 property, she's going to treat the clients the same way. It's
way.
white glove, 5-star service, whether you're selling a $10 million house or a $400,000 house. That's
Everybody
our motto.
deserves a respectful transaction where, I'm going to treat you, like he said, I'm going to treat you the same way. Only because you have a $3 million house doesn't mean my service to you is going to be better than somebody else. So,
I mean, it just, the best thing that you can do for your business is just make sure that every client gets
treated with
outstanding
respect.
service. It's amazing how many people always remember that. Because sometimes it's really bad, they remember, and sometimes because it's really good, they remember. It just and that's where the referrals come, and why a lot of people they keep sending people your way. But I guess my question will be, right now there's so much competition out there. Why would someone want to work with you guys?
I mean, just to put it out there, I feel like everybody should always interview maybe 2 to 3 agents before even choosing who to work with, because we have a bad rep. Realtors have a really bad rep, and it's because that one person who did something bad to one person. Now that one person hates everybody, and social media is full of hatred towards realtors. So I always say, interview 2 to 3 agents. Either you're buying or you're selling, always interview. I feel like you said, the difference with us, why you should work with us, is the experience that we give you. We treat you fairly from the beginning. We sit you down. We educate you. We tell you what we offer you, how it is. And we have a lot of transparency from the beginning. And with Christie's and our brand, our marketing strategies, our marketing techniques are beyond what a lot of companies or a lot of agents offer. So I think that's mainly one thing.
I mean, to elaborate a little bit on that, I feel like in today's internet world, right, it's very easy to spot whoever's not doing a good job, right? So we've had the team for going on 9 years, and we've done close to 200 million in transactions. If you go on Zillow, for example, and you look at our reviews, we have close to 200 reviews, 5-star reviews all across the board, nothing negative. And also, over 95% of our business is referral business. So if we were doing things in a different way, it would reflect in our reviews, it would reflect in our lack of business, our lack of referrals, and it's the complete opposite when it comes to that. I also think that another thing that helps us a lot is we have a collaborative culture in our team where all of our clients benefit from the collective knowledge of every single team member. So you're not just working with Maikol Puebla, you're working with Emili Bonilla, you're working with Elio, you're working with all of our agents, which is a huge asset for our clients.
I mean, I've seen it firsthand, sometimes with the listings that we have worked with, and you basically, for any reason, if you're not available, there's always somebody there just to make sure that, that you're taking care of the client.
Yep.
Yeah. So what made you decide to go into real estate in the first place? How we all have that story of like somehow, I mean, some people end up in this business by accident, but what made you decide to go into real estate?
I mean, I heard about it when I was 18. I was in high school. So I just heard it's a flexible schedule. You get to help people out, and it sounded all nice. So I'm like, okay, I'll try it out. I didn't know what I want to major in. So I went through college. I didn't find anything I wanted to major in. I had already done real estate school. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to move forward with it. And it's not a flexible. So, my schedule, I set it up whichever way, but you end up working more than just like a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So, I got into the business. I like that there's no cap in what you could do. you can always either you want to be a buyer's agent, a seller's agent, you want to invest, you want to buy your own properties, you want to do property management. There's always so much to do with real estate. So once I actually learned about it and was mentored about it, I decided to stay. And this is what I picture myself.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I'll go
doing.
into a mentoring thing later, but because I do want to touch on that. But how do you get into real estate, Mike?
I don't think I chose real estate. I think it chose me. I was kind of forced into it. Just, I was in a different line of business for a long time. And
What do you used to do?
I was in the bail bonds industry. Completely different. I don't know if you know how that works.
Now that you mentioned, you kind of look like one of those guys, man.
Oh, come on. I did that for a long time, and some laws came into effect that kind of wiped that industry out from one day to the next, literally. And I had to scramble to figure out what I was gonna do because I had no college degree. I had to really just figure it out. I was making really good money in that sector, and thank God I had some money saved up. And I mean, at the time I was in my early 20s. I said, I know if I don't do something with this money, I'm gonna spend it.
Yeah.
So I went out, I bought a house, different time, different era, $175,000 for a single family house.
Yeah,
I spent the money. That doesn't exist anymore, but I spent the money, and I went through a process where it just so happened that was my first home, and it was a 203K loan. And I went through the whole process of renovating the property, doing the whole thing, and then I sold it for a little bit over $300,000. And I said, "Oh, okay, this works." And I did it with no experience, so I got my license. I started working with clients, and the rest is history, man. I never stopped, never looked back since. And now we're dabbling in the investment side of things more too, which is great.
So how did your experience in the bail bond industry help you in real estate?
Not at all. Not at all. It was a completely different business because buying a home, it takes a lot of planning. And it takes a lot of time for you to get paid as an agent. Between the time that you sit with the client and you go out and you look at properties, or even if it's a listing, we're talking about 60 days, maybe more in many cases if you're depends on who you're working with.
That deal dies and you have to start all over.
Yeah. The bail bonds industry, you got paid and then you did the work. God forbid a family member or friend goes to jail and you need them out and you're going to pay their bill. Everything else stops.
Yeah.
You get the money and you get that done. The real estate world was completely different for me. So that took some getting used to,
Were there some issues, when you were in the bail bond industry, like any issue that came up that you can say it's familiar to real estate?
Not really.
Not really.
Such different industries, man.
Yeah.
So different. What I can tell you is that sometimes things happen for a reason. I was making a lot of money in that industry, but it was a very negative world. I was put in a lot of uncomfortable situations just because, I would get phone calls at 3:00 in the morning. I would have to run to the jails, the precincts, and help people out. And then
sounds like real estate to me.
It felt like there was a lot of negative energy into it, and I would have never gotten out because the money was so good. I would have stayed, and God knows where I would be today, but it forced me to go into something that now I love, and I don't see myself doing anything else ever, So, yeah.
Yeah, because and the reason I keep asking is because I feel like real estate is such a, obviously everyone sees the $1 million listings and, all this stuff on TV, selling Sunset and
it's nothing
the agency.
like that.
And it just like, even when you're dealing with that type of properties, it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
There's so many emotions, and I would probably say that doing transactions, those transactions that well over $1 million, they're a lot tougher than a transaction of like a first-time home buyer.
Well, I mean, that's why I said there's a lot of hate on social media. There's a lot of hate towards realtors, but it's definitely because they don't know what we actually do, what's behind an actual transaction. And all the comments I see is like, oh, they only turn on the lights and open the doors. And us realtors know that that's not all we do.
Yeah, it's something that's quite unfortunate because we're dealing with the most, probably the most expensive transaction that a person is going to do in their life. And agents are such a huge part of that. And it's not just opening the door. It's not just, you know, showing, taking
There's a lot.
pictures and then walking away and then showing off. The ones that do great are because they're just hustling all the time and making sure that things get done and push and push and push and push.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't work, you don't get paid. So you have to hustle and, you know, try to get some transactions.
I mean, Emily says something that's the key, right? Instagram, Facebook, social media has completely changed the way, or really painted a picture that's not realistic. And that coupled with, you know, the reality shows and stuff like that. There's a lot of good in this business, but most of what happens is just hard work. A lot of hard work and the responsibility. If you're going to take this serious and you're helping someone with the biggest purchase they're ever going to make in their life, that's stressful, man. That takes that, you know, you have to put in work. You have to make sure you're guiding them the right way. You go to real estate school, you get your license. Does that mean you're ready to sell a house?
No.
Absolutely not.
You don't learn anything.
Absolutely not.
In school.
It becomes more important for you to serve your clients in a good way than for you to make money, and then the money comes later.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, listen, we had a transaction with, you know, last summer. You know, I'm not gonna mention the name, but I think you know which one we're talking about, and it was just like I was losing sleep. You know, and she kept on calling me. The client kept on calling me and telling me, "Hey, is this really gonna work? Is this really gonna happen?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no worry, it's gonna happen. We're there for you." I mean, and I knew it was gonna happen, but it's just like, you know, you suffer because you know that, you know, like it means so much to that person, right? And it's like,
and a lot of those people that are they don't listen to us, the professionals, because somebody's uncle told them that things are like this, you're supposed to be like this, and then they doubt us, and then they make us pass through so much stress, and we're only trying to help them. So that's why it's important to hire someone you trust, because then if there's no trust towards your agent, you're going to believe everything you hear on social media or anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, social media has its good things and bad things, and definitely one of those bad things is that, you know, fear sells. You know, like saying something good, sometimes it doesn't sell, and you start hearing, you know, like you mentioned, like, you know, about the crash. Hey, you know, we're still waiting for that crash to come. And I don't know if you remember, after the pandemic, everyone was like, yeah, this is gonna be like 2008. There's gonna be foreclosures everywhere. Meanwhile, you had prices just skyrocketing 30% in a matter of 6 months, and then people coming back and be like, oh, I can't afford.
Yeah, exactly. The funniest thing that you'll ever see is people trying to time or predict the market. The market, it's like it has a life of its own, man. You know, you ride the waves, the highs and the lows, and that's it. You know, if you can ask 10 people now, what do you think of the market? They'll say it's too expensive, interest rates are high, this and that, and then I'll find you a client that just bought a multifamily and they're paying half what they were paying for rent. You know, so, and it's their house, and you know,
they're building equity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's all about perspective. I mean, I've seen, you know, I don't know if you remember, but basically when rates in 2022 went up to like 8%, you know, 7.5%, 8%, then, you know, people were like, oh, well, I mean, actually, let me backtrack. When rates started going up to 5%, people were like, there's no way I'm going to get a 5% interest rate. This is impossible. Now, if I offer a 5% interest rate, people will just jump over hoops and be like, no, listen, I'll take that no matter what.
Well, they got used to the 2.5s and the 3s during the pandemic. That's what happened.
And it's just like the same thing with prices. I mean, we have clients that sometimes, you know, Emily and I would go like, okay, we got to go hard on this person. Like tell her, you know, tell her or tell him, listen, you got to go and buy now because you're not, you know. And why? Mainly because they listen to.
They listen to everybody else, but they just have to be educated. And I feel like more buyers now are understanding that. So they're seeing it as long as it's within my budget, I'm going to go for it rather than pay rent. And then later on, if the interest rates will come down, they can refinance, you know, but instead of paying rent, like they say, rent is 100% interest. So, you know, it's definitely better to start building equity. And then if the chance comes to refinance, then you could do it.
Yeah.
But people just need to be educated and actually know about it.
Yeah. Just to trust someone that has been there before.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you see the market in Hudson County? Like, how do you see two families? You know, I know you guys deal with a lot of off market, right?
We do.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of off markets. I mean, some people don't want the attention of the listing, the pictures, open houses, and multiple people in and out. So some sellers do want an off-market transaction. We have a lot of off-market buyers that, it's also a benefit to them, getting them an off-market deal where they don't have to be competing and being outbidded or anything like that. So, but yeah, the market in Hudson County, it's hot. I mean, multifamily comes up, and I mean, if it's a good multifamily, reasonable price, because right now I'm seeing 2 families in North Bergen being listed for 1.8, 1.9, and they think that they're going to get away with it because the market is hot, but it's just unrealistic. So yeah, if it's a house that's priced right, multifamily will go within days.
Yeah, and that's another thing. How do you handle that? So you go to a listing, and then you have people that are like basically, look, at anything that's yours is always going to feel like it's more valuable than anybody else. And, you might be right. You put a lot of hard work into it. But at the same time, a lot of houses, you can't, I wouldn't use the word greedy, but you have to be realistic. How do you handle those conversations? Because, I mean, you guys are, especially you do a ton of listings, correct?
Yeah, it depends. There's few ways that we go about it, but I want to answer your question first about Hudson County. Hudson County is a special animal, I call it, because you have Hoboken, right, which is already incredibly expensive. You're looking at Manhattan prices in Hoboken, and then it's kind of moved up, right? And Weehawken got expensive. Now North Bergen, West York, Union City is getting expensive.
Jersey
and
City.
It's all Jersey City, downtown's already up there. So it's all because of the proximity to Manhattan. Literally any of these properties in Union City, West York, North Bergen, you can get in your car, depending on traffic, you can be in the city in 15 minutes.
Dude, there's so many restaurants.
And not only that, then you also have the ferry, the path, you have the light rail, you have everything.
And people know this, and that's why they're willing to, in some cases, overpay. You also have the buyers coming from Brooklyn, coming from Manhattan, where the prices are double for half the size. So they don't mind coming over to Hudson County and paying certain prices, It's gonna continue to go up because it's a special location, in my opinion. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, listen, did you grow up in how long?
Union City.
Union City.
Yeah.
I grew up in West New York, and I remember I think that was 2004, 2005 when they built the light rail.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was saying, "Hey, listen, there's gonna be a boom."
Yeah.
Of course, we had 2008, but even after that, like you could see like everyone starting to move and move and move and move.
Yeah.
And now it's just because it's so convenient.
Yeah.
It's so convenient. And me living now, I live in Somerset County in Bridgewater. I miss the restaurants, man. I miss just being able to
He's an hour away from everything.
Yeah, I'm like, we have good choices, don't get me wrong, but I miss just being able to be like, hey, I want some Mexican, I want some
For me,
Colombian.
that's important. See, for me, I have to live somewhere. I live in Fort Lee now, and I have to be able to get in my car or walk to restaurants, shops, movie theaters, Broadway show,
just
whatever.
Bergen Line, man.
I have to be able, even Bergen Line, man. Listen, it's not what it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It really isn't. It has changed so much. I love it. I think it's going to continue to grow just because of the proximity to Manhattan and
the market in Hudson County is not going to slow down, especially now you have the waterfront and condos and all of that. People love the condo lifestyle. So
yeah, I mean everything's just like I grew up on 56 and Hudson, and I mean I don't know if you guys remember way back when the middle school wasn't there. It was a park, and until that park was caliente. It was like you could find anything you want in that. And when I'm talking anything, it's not nothing good.
I don't recall.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the same thing with Union City. Union City was the
I don't
same.
recall.
20 years ago, it was insane.
Yeah. Now Union City is kind of like West Hoboken, and it's basically
absolutely. And North Bergen too. It's residential. It's families. It's investors. There's new constructions going up, buildings. It's changing, and it's going to continue to change.
It's I tell if you can, it's definitely a great place to be. It's definitely a great place to be.
Definitely.
Yeah, but going back, so how do you handle listings? How do you set those realistic goals? And
so it's actually pretty easy. Look, the market kind of dictates itself, right? And sometimes you could push the boundaries a little bit, but not too much because it might end up being detrimental to you as a seller, right? And I always ask my clients to put themselves in the position of an investor or a buyer. If you're selling a building, right, and you want a certain amount of money for it. All right, let's justify why you want that much, because it can't just be because that's what I need to buy my next building. It has to be worth what you're selling it for. And so we break down the numbers and we come up with a cap rate, and we find out what is the acceptable cap rate depending on the location, and that'll give us the right number. Can we push that number a little bit? Yes. If you're in a special location, if you have incredible views, we can play around with that number a bit, but that gives you the real value of your building. That's for investment, right? For everything else, you have comps, right? Comps that have sold recently, which me and Emily were coincidentally having this conversation recently. That number can also be pushed because the property that sold a year ago or 8 months ago might be a completely different market now. Maybe there's less inventory. Maybe nothing it's available like what you have. So even though the comps suggest 550, now you might be able to sell it for 650, you know? So it's pretty easy, man. There's a process for everything. Now, if you have a property that our numbers suggest that it's worth 1.5 and you want to list it for 2.2, then that could be detrimental to you as a seller because it's going to sit on the market. And in this hot market where everything sells, people are going to start wondering, why is this just sitting there? Is there something wrong with it?
Yeah.
And then that stays with properties, and it's a problem.
does.
So yeah.
There will always be an agent who will list it for whatever number you throw at them without doing the research, without doing the data. So they'll just list it. But again, it's doing you a disservice because it's going to sit on the market. It's not going to appraise. It just does not make sense. So I feel like my approach is educating them and showing them why. I always ask, how much do you want for your property? And I get numbers thrown out. But then I come in with actual data. I show them why I believe this number makes sense. And it's just educating them. And when they see the proof, actual data showing to them that their 2.2 makes no sense and they're not going to get it right now, then they actually, they listen. They see you're an educated person, you have knowledge on the market, and they trust you.
And sometimes it's the other way around. I had a lady recently that wanted to sell her multifamily in Union City, and she was under the impression that her property was, well, by the way, this is a 2-family house with a finished basement, parking, corner property in Union City. And she was under the impression that her property was worth what was on the tax assessment card, which was, I don't know, like $350,000 or something like that.
Gosh.
And I'm like, oh, you're going to be happy. You're going to be happy because it was worth a lot more than that. So you get both.
But now you actually, now that also goes back to our first question when you said, why would you want to work with us? He could have taken advantage of that.
Yeah.
But the type of person, the type of people that we are, the type of person that he is, we're not going to take advantage of you. He is an investor. An investor would find the house for $350,000. They would have just taken, advantage of the situation. But that's just not the type of people that we are.
People, no matter what you do, eventually people will realize whether it's something good or bad.
That's true.
It always comes back.
Yep.
But going back to the point that you were saying about telling people showing them exactly how things work, educating them. I have that issue too, where people come to me and go like, hey, so how much am I going to be spending here on this transaction? And I always give them a higher number. And the reason is because the reality of the transaction is that you don't know what the heck is going to happen. Especially with interest rates. There's only a certain portion of the loan, that the closing costs that you actually control. And there's so many people that will go to a lender, and the lender goes like, yeah, I'm going to get you a 5.99, no points, everything's perfect, yeah. Meanwhile, it's like 6.8 out there. And then it's like once they get you in, then they go ahead and be like, oh, sorry, things change.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's such a bad thing. And, and that's going back to the reputation that there are some bad apples in the industry. That kind of messes things up for
the good ones.
For the good ones, yeah. Now, I'm a brand new agent, Maikol. I just got my license.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
That's why Emily's there to help me with that. No, but let's say I'm a brand new agent, and I want to get listings. How do I go about that?
Oh man, it's straight hustle. You have to hit the phones. You have to cold call. I would highly recommend joining a team. Doesn't have to be our team, but joining a team will be huge. Just because as a new agent, you don't have the experience, you don't have the knowledge. Again, coming out of real estate school, you're really not ready to sell a property. So I think joining a team and having mentorship and the proper guidance will be huge. One of the things that you get by joining a team is the record, and everything I've done in the past, you get to use it in your favor. So if Danilo, you want to sell your house tomorrow, and you're interviewing an agent that has never sold the property, that's you're probably not going to give them the listing, even if they get the listing appointment, right? But if I show up with that agent and I said, hey, I'm going to work on this with him, and this is how much I've sold, and this is our record, and this is what we've done, now you're going to be more willing or more open to giving them an opportunity. And this will help that new agent build a book of business, and actually a transaction history that can show experience. I think that's huge. That's important. As far as generating the actual listing appointments, it's social media is huge, right? We were speaking about how bad social media is, but it also has a lot of good aspects to it as well. You have to put your name out there, your brand. You have to constantly provide your clients with updates about the market, your knowledge, showcase what you can do. And then the old school way, man, door knocking. I'll give you a perfect example. And Emily knows this, we've talked about it a lot. Anytime we drive by a new construction property and then we see the people working on it, we get out, we go, we talk to them. Hey, well, what are you guys thinking of this, of doing with this? Are you going to sell it? You're going to rent it? We can help. Here's my card. Anything I've done in the past. For example, I have a sale in North Bergen that is the highest sold residential property in North Bergen, 4 units or less, right?
It's sold already.
It's sold already. Okay. Yeah. I actually sold that property 3 times, but the last time was the record. And
you're churning them, man.
I know. But this is a perfect example of a property where if you're a new agent and you come onto the team, you can go and canvas the whole block, right? And even, the town. You can go out, knock on the door and say, hey, I don't want to take too much of your time, but I just wanted to let you know my team and I just sold your neighbor's house for $2 million, and nothing has sold in town for that much. If you're interested in knowing how much your house is worth, I can give you a free market analysis. Boom. You can't do that if you don't have if you don't have the backing or a team. It's hitting the phones, door knocking, the basics.
Prospecting. I feel like for a brand new agent, you have to, whenever you join a team or something, they were going to set certain expectations that you don't realize, realistic expectations, where you're probably not going to see money for the first 6 months. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. So that's why he says join a team, get an idea, learn, get mentorship, be okay with the fact that you're not going to see money in the first few months, because it's all about learning. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to know what you're doing. You can't just jump into it. And that's what I did. I joined the team. I was his admin first because I understand people need a job as well, but I was doing admin work while also being on the team. So I was being mentored and working at the same time. So it's just very important to actually just join a group of people who are willing to teach you or willing to help you grow.
Yeah.
So for a new agent, I think that's definitely crucial.
Yeah, and it takes some, not sure what the right word, but it takes time. It takes time. And I had it, look, I personally, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been in the financial services industry. But in 2021, when I decided to leave the big banks, one big bank, because I was at one place for a long time, where I was doing financial planning and personal banking and business, all sorts of stuff, and coming into just mortgages. For me, like I used to do mortgages at the big bank, but coming on this side is completely different. And like you said, having somebody that's backing you, that's putting that experience there, makes a huge difference. So for example, even though I was very knowledgeable about the industry, it's a whole different game. And just pushing on this side when we're doing as a mortgage lender in an independent bank, we're basically just pushing everything ourselves. And me knowing that I had the branch manager very soon it was like, okay, you know what? I can go into anything. And I think it's the same. I mean, we had this conversation. It's the same thing with Maikol, where it's like, you know what? Like something happens, I pick up the phone and it's like, hey, bro, what happened? What's going on here? What can we do?
Yeah.
You know, because there's so much of that in this business that it's like every day there's like something, and you were like, oh my God, I never had this situation.
It's experience. You have to learn. And Emily said it. And again, that's because of social media. A lot of people see, if you go on my
think it's
Instagram,
easy.
all you see is, oh, he closed this deal, he closed that deal, he's making money here, he's making money there. But you don't see what goes on in the background and how do we get there. So a lot of people, this is why the numbers are what they are. I don't know the exact figures now, but I think it's over like 74% of people that get their real estate license quit within their first year. And then it goes up to like 94% of people that get their real estate license quit within their first 3 years in the industry. It's very tough. It's, it
Not
takes
easy.
time to make money, and most people want to come in and they want to make money right away. They don't want to take that year to learn.
Superstars, you know.
Yeah, to learn. And here's the other thing. The grass is always greener on the other side. They'll come in, they'll join a team, and they'll say, hey, we have to split with the team leader, and we have to split with the broker, and I'd rather just go somewhere where I keep 100%. And my thing is, okay, so would you prefer to keep 100% of 50,000 or 50% of 200,000?
Yeah.
People don't understand that. They don't see it. And, unfortunately, social media has played a big part in that. Thinking that they're going to come in, they're going to make money right away. You need to take at least a year just to learn the business and how to do it the right way. And this is also so that you can actually provide a good service to your clients. It's not even for you. So that you actually learn your craft. And then after, you can go out there with confidence and say, I can do this.
I mean, you got to learn the basics. You got to learn the basics, and you got to learn, and this is just for business in general. You got to learn how to just make money, make a dollar.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just come in and say, this happens on the mortgage side too. It's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to focus on social media. Or I'm just gonna focus on the fancy stuff, on the networking events, on all these things, and then it's like, okay, like if you focus on that, but you've never been to the hard stuff, it's hard for people to just and I mean, you need to you need to show people that you can actually do it.
I agree.
Now on the other side, what about buyers? Like, how do you guys? Because you guys deal with a lot of buyers. How do you guys get your buyers? What would be your advice to someone starting?
Well, on the buyer side, I always like to start them with a buyer's consultation, because a lot of first-time home buyers don't know what they're doing. They just know we want to buy a house, but they don't know how to start, what to do, where to look, or anything like that. So I would sit them down maybe for like an hour. I explain the entire process. I tell them step by step, this is what you should be doing. This is what you should be focused on. And yeah, like answer all of their questions and then guide them the right way. Because if not, they're just going to be all over the place, not knowing when to start, looking at homes on Zillow, just, being fooled by whatever's out there and just not doing things the right way.
Do you think it makes sense for them to sit down with a banker immediately? Or do you think how do you handle that?
Well, I mean, the first step is always get your pre-approval. So that way you know exactly what it is that you can afford and what you should be looking for. So if you do contact the lender first and they guide you on the financials and then you look for an agent, sure. But also, if you want to work with an agent, find the agent that you trust, that you want to work with, and the agent is most likely also going to have lenders that they work with that they trust. They have attorneys, they have inspectors, they have a whole group of people that's already proven that they work well, that they are going to help you, and then they could guide you from there. You sit down with an agent. A lot of people that find me, they find me first before they even talk to a lender. So I sit down with them. I explain to them why it's important, the first step, to go to a lender. So we're not just looking out there showing homes that they don't even qualify for. Yeah, so I set expectations. I tell them about the market. I tell them, the market is hot. If we see this house and there's a line outside of the open house, we're probably going to have to bid higher. And, I explain to them. So that way when we start looking, it's, setting realistic expectations for them. So, I mean, I think you should find an agent first and then, get guided. But if you find a lender first, then.
Yeah. Who was your first buyer transaction? Like, how did you get that person?
It was supposed to be a rental. So it was referred to me for a rental, and I was showing them homes. And then I think they wanted to pay like $2,500 for a rent, and they're like, but does it make sense? We want to buy. So I sat them down and I showed them their options. This is what, and by that time the rates were like 3%. So I sat them down, I showed them, this is how much you would pay in your mortgage, this is how much you would pay if you rent, and you're building equity and all of that. So they decided to purchase instead. And yeah.
Isn't it crazy that, for you to just to rent a place, you're gonna need like 10K.
Yeah, you need almost like 3 months and a half.
Yeah.
Be one signing the lease.
In some situations, I mean, you can say about the one that would close in November, where they came in with $2,000 with a down payment assistance.
Oh yes, they came with the down payment assistance. Their closing cost was like $900.
Yeah,
I think it was $900 because we got them state credit. And they had no closing costs, no nothing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So sometimes, a lot of people just don't realize that you can actually, get that. But like, how about you? Who was your first transaction?
It was a friend of mine referred her sister, who was looking to buy her first house. They were moving from New York, and that's how I got my first buyer. But buyers are, in some ways, easier than sellers.
Finding them.
And just most agents are busy with buyers, not with listings. And it's just because most people are willing to give you an opportunity to help them find the house and do all of that rather than to actually list their biggest asset. And an easy way of doing that is social media. If we do a closing tomorrow, I'll take a picture with my clients, I post it, they share it on their social media. Next thing you know, their cousin, their friend is reaching out as well. Hey, I saw you helped so-and-so, and we're looking to buy a house too. Can you help us? And what you said about buyers usually reaching out to agents should really be the other way around. You should be the first step in the process, right? But for some reason, people usually think about the real estate agent first. And then we do the buyer consultation. And then from there, we tell them, all right, so the first step is getting pre-approved. You have to get a lender, go sit with a banker, and then we take it from there. But yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I mean, also one thing, it's not, whenever I sit with them in the buyer's consultation, I give out recommendations. If you haven't worked with a lender yet, here's some options, explore your options, see. I don't like people to think that, hey, only because I work with you, you have to use whoever I work with, or even with attorneys and inspector is always a recommendation. I've worked with them, I can vouch for them, but if you have another referral, if you have somebody else, then, you're also more than welcome to do it.
Well, I have to say, I mean, I think everyone should work with me. But having said that, not everyone clicks with everyone.
Yes.
It's amazing. There are some people that I think I'm pretty good at it, but there are some people that just don't click with me. They don't like my style. There's very few of those people, but there's some. Yeah, that's a reality.
It happens.
So sometimes it's as an agent, you want to have those options and be like, okay, you know what? I think this guy is just gonna be much better here, right? Because everyone works differently. Everyone works differently. What would be your advice to a first-time investor, Maikol?
To a first-time investor?
I mean, because you had multiple properties.
Yeah,
already.
Right now I have a few. I would say getting the proper guidance is key. If you're a first-time investor, your first deal, it's probably the most important because it can encourage you or discourage you, right? If it goes well, you're going to want to do more, you're going to make money, and it might take you to, God knows where it takes you. But if it doesn't go well, then you're going to second guess the next one. So I think guidance is the most important. Partnering up with someone that maybe has done it before, right? That could be huge. Getting into it, not by yourself the first time, maybe getting a partner that has done, depends on what kind of investing you're doing, right? If you're flipping, a lot goes into a flip. If you're buying to hold, the agent that you're going to use is huge because you need a lot of clarity as far as the numbers and what is the client looking for, what kind of return, why is it good, hidden expenses, that kind of stuff.
Let's talk about flipping. Because, everyone kind of also, it goes back to TV, and they don't realize that it's TV. But like, for a regular flip, let's set the record clear. How much money would you expect to make off a regular flip?
That's not the right question just because there's no right answer, right? It depends on the location. It depends on the scope of work. It depends on so many things, right? And it depends on the person. I've met investors that have been investing for 20 years and they're like, oh, I don't get into a project unless I'm making $150,000. And then I've met other people that say, if I can get this fixed and sold within 3 months, I'm okay making 30, 40K.
Yeah.
So it depends. It really depends. Me personally, I like to engage in projects that I actually like and I know I'm going to enjoy. I'm doing 2 right now where we actually closed on it today. We acquired a lot that has a multifamily property on it, and it's 75 by 100 lot. We're going to knock down the property, subdivide it to 3 25 by 100 lots, and do 3 single-family houses in the Woodcliff section of North
Stay
Bergen.
tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. Woodcliff section of North Bergen, and we're going to try and fetch a price point that hasn't been seen in that area before.
Yeah.
But we're also bringing a product that hasn't been seen in that area before. So this is exciting. This is something that's fun for me. Whether I make 200,000 or I make 50,000, I'm gonna enjoy it. You know. So I think that's huge. That's huge when it comes to
and the reason I ask that question is because I get so many calls sometimes where like they come in and say, listen, I want to get a mortgage to go ahead and flip a house. And I want to make, I'm like, so how much are you looking to make? It's like, oh, I want to make $100,000. And then it's like, how much more money are you going to put? $20,000, Have you done it before? No. It's like, yeah, but it can be done, right? And there's so many things that, like, if you've never had a house before, it's just not that simple. It requires a lot of knowledge. Just dealing with contractors for your own house is difficult sometimes.
That's probably the hardest part.
Yeah.
Is, contractors have been very busy and builders have been very busy over the last few years. And so there's a lot of bad apples in that business. So you can find, I've seen horror stories where contractors come in, they take a deposit and they disappear. Now, what do? You have to know, and this is why I mentioned before that maybe for your first project, partnering up with someone that has done it before and has a team could be the difference maker for you, because that's someone that already has a contractor that they trust, that they've worked with, an attorney, architect. These are all things that you're going to need,
Yeah, and those properties in the Woodcliff section in North Bergen, are they going to be like, I'm assuming it's going to be like luxury?
Absolutely. Yeah.
How would you go about listing one of these properties? Like, what would be the difference between listing like a regular property to something that's more of a...
You have to know who your target audience is. You have to know who to market the property to. You have to know the area. You have to know, just the buyer pool. You can't just have this product and then just, list it on the MLS and then cross your fingers, which happens a lot. You have to have an actual strategy.
That's what most agents do.
That's what most agents do. Just, I'm going to put it on the MLS, cross my fingers. And, in 2020, it worked. And for COVID, they listed it and it got 20 offers and it was just like star agent. But no, that's not going to happen anymore. So you have to have an actual technique. You have to have a marketing strategy. You have to know the project. Obviously, it's his project, so he's going to know it. Know the product, know what you are selling, and, market it to the right people, which also helps because we're part of Christie's. Christie's is a luxury brand. So we have the network. We have the pool of buyers that are looking for something like that.
Even within the company.
Even within the company.
A strong network where we can move our properties. But she mentioned something that's important, and it's the demographics. You have to know who's buying in this section, who's buying in the Woodcliff area. What are they looking for? Is the product that I'm bringing to market something that's going to appeal to these people? And then you make the decision.
Yeah, no, I always say, look, anybody can sell a house. The thing is, how much are you going to sell it for?
Yeah.
It's like, obviously in this market, in certain areas yes, I wouldn't say it's easy, but you are going to get a buyer within the first month or so, right? As opposed to in the past, because that's the other thing that people don't realize. And you can talk about it where, pre-pandemic, it would take 3 months to sell a house, right?
Yeah.
It would take 3 months. It didn't take, you wouldn't be getting multiple offers, and the process will be, and nowadays it's just different.
It is different. But also, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, for you to get $200,000-$300,000 worth of equity in your property, you had to wait a long time. 15, 20 years had to pass from the time that you bought it for you to amass that amount of equity. Now, you buy a property now in 2-3 years, you have $200,000-$300,000 in equity. It's insane. The rate of appreciation has been crazy for both properties and, as you mentioned before, for rentals, which is what has been driving this insane pool of buyers just going out there and buying homes, because the rentals are crazy. Actually, the rate at which rentals have gone up, it's been higher than the rate at which houses have gone up, which is insane. So that's why people are out there and they're buying.
Yeah, no, I mean, I tell people, like, if they go back and look from 2008, after the crash, obviously the first 2 years on 2008, 2010, things were completely dead. There was absolutely nothing going on. And then after that, it was just a 10-year period where things were okay, But then obviously when the pandemic came, people realized that having a house makes sense. And just things blew up. And I don't see how that's going to stop. In a place like New Jersey, where there's no land to build, how that's going to stop.
It's basic economics, supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
There's not enough houses, and there's a lot of people looking to buy. So unless you're going to come in with, I don't know, new supply somehow, we're going to continue to have the same issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you also have migration patterns. You have people that are wanting to leave New Jersey. So you just have to find them and bring, sellers leave, buyers come in. Yep. So it's just finding the right place, the right house for the people and all of that.
Yeah. So now as we start wrapping this up, kind of like more of a personal, what are your plans, your personal plans for 2025, and any plans to travel? I mean, this lady here basically travels every single place.
Oh, you telling me?
I'm like always jealous. I'm like, hey, can we do this? Hey, can we have dinner? And she's like, no, I'm
leaving
I'm
that
going
day.
to Iceland.
You never know with Emily, man. You know how I get a hold of Emily? You know the bat sign that you light up into, you beam up into the sky? When I need to get a hold of Emily, I shine a light in the sky, and then Emily calls me.
I haven't told you. I booked my next one.
You see?
And where are you going?
I'm going to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
that's awesome.
I mean, I said I wouldn't travel. I said I wouldn't travel.
This year.
Than the shore. I said I wouldn't travel too much, and I want to focus on my business. But doesn't sound like I'm gonna do that. Sounds like I'm gonna still keep traveling. But I mean, I like traveling, and there's a beauty of being young, having no kids, and I want to travel.
And it's a
So
balance.
it's a balance,
and
Because this young lady here, anytime I am so impressed by how she goes about her job.
Yep.
She really cares, and we have done, a lot of transactions that come from both sides, and it's just there's a level of trust where I'm like, okay, no, Emily has it. And so, yeah, she travels a lot.
But I work a lot
She
too.
works her butt off.
She's a true professional.
And you know what? And that's the other thing too. Like, in this business, you gotta play. What's it called? Like, play hard and
play hard, work hard.
Yeah,
play hard, work hard.
Exactly. But it's like that's why you go out there and do it. Do you have any plans to travel?
He travels probably the same amount of
You guys do like a whole team that you guys go to Tulum?
Yeah,
and,
for our birthdays and stuff, we travel as a team. But
I'm like,
I don't know, man.
Well, I mean, going back to the question about the team, that's also a beauty within the team, because aside from like a business partnership, we have a real friendship and we love working with each other.
Pretty cool crew.
Yeah, we all get along. We went to Turks and Caicos for his birthday. Then we went to Puerto Rico for my birthday. So it's an actual friendship, and I think it's great to work like
energy.
that. Yeah, it's great energy.
It's a nice culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
So if you want to travel, join
MP Home Collection.
MP Home Collections, yeah. Now, for any plans for the team, anything that you have, obviously you talked about, the project. But any other plans, do you want to keep growing? Do you want to keep it that way?
2025 is all about mentorship. I don't want a team with 50 agents where everybody's just doing their own thing. I want a small team where everyone is very productive. So, yes, we are open to interviewing agents, but only full-time agents and agents that are committed to putting in the work and the sacrifice that it takes. Mentorship. That's really the main word for 2025. That's it.
And absolutely, and I can say that, you've done a great. Sounds bad, but you've done a great job with Emily.
Thank you, but she's easy to work with.
Yeah,
so.
she's easy. It helps, but yeah, that's also, I see so many people that they're just out there and they're thinking, they have no guidance. no guidance, and this is just, it's a tough business.
You have to be careful who you trust in this business. That's like big. Be careful who you trust.
Yeah.
Be careful who you share your things with.
Yeah.
Because it's not an easy career. But
This business is full of a lot of insecure people that, you know, that sometimes have done very well.
be careful who you trust is
Yeah,
all I
so
can
true.
say.
Yeah.
Be careful who you trust.
And it gives you, real estate just gives you so many opportunities and to grow. Some people do it the right way, some people do it the wrong way, and it's very, very important who you deal with, not just as a customer, but as an agent. Who do you partner with? Who's
Yeah.
going to give you that the right guidance and the right vision to move into the future? Yeah.
Yep.
But listen, I really want to thank you, for coming. I know you guys are super busy. I know you probably have so many travel plans, but I really appreciate it, and I am looking forward to a strong 2025, and
It's gonna be a good year.
it's gonna be a
Thank
really
you
good
for
year.
having us, man.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate it.